Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to the Bhakti Shastri class. And some devotees are joining us online, some are here in person. And we are going to continue with our study of Śrī Īśopaniṣad. So before we get started, we will recite the Mangalacharan prayers and then we will get started. Mangalacharan prayers are prayers to invite the mercy and blessings of previous acharyas, the lordships, Lord Krishna, Srimati Radharani, Lord Chaitanya, and all the other devotees, all the other acharyas, gurujanas in our parampara, to bless us so that we can understand the topic of Īśopaniṣad nicely. So these verses that we will recite are given in the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. And it's very tiny. Where is that? Share screen. Share. Okay. So hopefully you can see the screen and we will recite the invocation prayers first. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam
Rupakadamayam dadati swapadakam Vandeham
Virupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Avadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachayani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshapani He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dīnbandho Jagatpate Gopesha Radha Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Pranamami Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay. So, Śrī Īśopaniṣad. So we are going to spend a couple of months in the study of Śrī Īśopaniṣad. Dual benefit for the Bhakti Shastri students as well as all the other students. So kindly keep yourself muted. Īśopaniṣad is considered to be one of the principal 10 Upanishads. Among those also, it is considered to be one of the Mukhya Upanishads, the most important, one of the most important Upanishads. And Īśopaniṣad is, of course, was specified by Srila Prabhupada as a very essential book to read. That is why among all he wrote almost 80 books. Amongst those, he selected 4 as the program for Bhakti Shastri. So Bhagavad Gita, Śrī Īśopaniṣad, Upadeshamrita, which is called Nectar of Instruction, and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is Nectar of Devotion. So we are in the study of Śrī Īśopaniṣad. And Īśopaniṣad is obviously, I mean, everybody has heard of Upanishads. Everybody has heard at least the name Upanishads. It's something very, important, very. And last class, which wasn't in an open format, but the recording is available on YouTube, we discussed the significance of the Vedas, the significance of the Upanishads, and the significance specifically of Īśopaniṣad. But one thing that I want to add is that Īśopaniṣad is absolutely full with 2 things. Typically, many of the Upanishads are mainly knowledge. Īśopaniṣad is packed with practical instructions as well. Knowledge plus practical instructions, application. So this is, even though Upanishads are mainly called as Jnana Kanda. Jnana means knowledge. But there is tremendous amount of practical application in the Upanishads as well. But today's discussion will be focused on Jnana, knowledge about Bhagawan. We'll come to that. But one should understand that everybody understands application is most important. Otherwise, there's not going to be any change in our life if we don't apply. So there can be 2 types of applications, one with knowledge and one without knowledge. So application with knowledge is the most potent, is the most effective. Because when you have the knowledge, and not just having the knowledge, but believing in it, literally very strongly having the conviction that yes, this is absolutely correct, and if I follow it, it will actually benefit me. So with that conviction, when we take actions, then our actions are very determined, are very proper. They yield the results much, much faster. So that's why knowledge and application leads to spiritual advancement. Okay. So today's discussion is mainly going to be on the knowledge aspect of the Īśopaniṣad. So what I thought we will do is that we will, again, many of the students have difficulty in memorizing. That's one of the sort of the, what do you call, Achilles heel. So we will, every Bhakti Shastri class or every Īśopaniṣad class, we will recite the memorization verses and the translation. Okay, so please repeat after me, and I will share screen again. So we will go to Śrī Īśopaniṣad. And today's discussion is going to be about Invocation Mantra, which is one of the verses to be memorized. But there are 2 verses to be memorized, Invocation Mantra and the next one, Mantra 1. So we will do both of them. So what I'm going to do here is go to the, oh, there's no advanced view. Okay, no problem. So please repeat after me. Om pūrṇamadaḥ pūrṇamidam purnaāt purnamudacyate purnaśya ādāya evāvaśiṣyate. Personality, continue to repeat. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. Because he is completely perfect.
And because he is completely perfect,
all emanations from him,
as
this phenomenal world,
are
perfectly equipped
are perfectly
as
equipped
complete wholes.
as complete wholes.
Whatever is produced of the complete whole
Whatever is produced of the complete whole
is also complete in itself,
is also complete in itself.
because he is the complete whole.
Because he is the complete whole,
Even though
even
so
though
many complete units
so many complete units
emanate from him,
emanate from him,
he remains the complete balance.
he remains the complete balance.
Very nice. Next verse. Īśāvāśyam idam sarvam
Īśāvāśyamidam sarvam
yatkinca jagatyam jagat
yatkinca jagatyam jagat
tena bhunjitha
ekantena bhunjitha
madridah kasya svidhanam.
madridah kasya siddhanam.
Everything animate or inanimate
Everything animate or inanimate
within the universe
that is within the universe
is controlled and owned
is controlled and
by
owned
Lord.
by the Lord.
One should therefore accept
One should therefore accept
only those things
only those things
necessary for himself,
necessary for himself,
which are set aside
which are set
as
aside
his quota.
as his quota.
And one should not accept
And one should not accept
other things,
other things,
knowing well
knowing well
they belong.
to whom they belong.
Thank you. Kindly mute yourself now. So we will go back to the invocation verse. That is the topic for today. And we will discuss the invocation verse. And if there is time, which I doubt because I have a lot of notes and all, so depending on that, we may or may not go to the mantra one. But this verse is so important. Everybody has, how many of you have heard this verse before? Om pūrṇam adaḥ pūrṇamidam. Before coming associated to ISKCON with the Hare Krishna movement and anything, this is such an important verse. Everybody must have heard, right? Like, what is that? Yada yada hi dharmasya, or so many, some of the verses of Bhagavad Gita, everybody has heard, right? Karmanyeva adhikaraste. But so this is such a famous verse, such an important verse. And this verse, the point of this verse, the main intention of this verse at the beginning of Īśopaniṣad. Now, technically, this is not part of Īśopaniṣad, but all the previous acharyas have included this verse in the beginning of the Īśopaniṣad. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Baladev Vidyabhushan, to name two, have included this in their commentary as the first verse. And of course, Srila Prabhupada. And this is Srila Prabhupada's paper. This is the paper copy of the Īśopaniṣad. So the point of this first verse is to give a understanding of who is Bhagawan. This is Īśa Upanishad. Īśa means, Īśa is a short form, or Ishvara, Bhagawan. Who is Bhagawan? Now, Bhagawan cannot be fit into one verse. Bhagawan is infinite. But that infinite aspect itself is actually coming out in this verse. So who is Bhagawan, and especially his inconceivability? How in our little minds, we cannot expect or hope that we will figure out Bhagawan. We will bring Bhagawan in our control of our understanding. We will get the full understanding of Bhagawan. That is little, if that is the expectation that one is having, then it is the wrong expectation. And this verse itself is giving a hint of the inconceivability of Bhagawan. So, and this is basically, like you have seen from the translation, that the aspect of inconceivability that is coming up is that from that purna, Bhagavan is purna. There is so many occurrences of the word purna in this verse. Om pūrṇam adaḥ pūrṇamidam purnaat purnam udacyate purnasya purnam ādāya pūrṇam evāvaśiṣyate. The Bhagavan is being called as purna here because he is complete. Everything is within Bhagavan. If there is something else and it is not in Bhagavan, then Bhagavan is not Bhagavan, right? Something else is Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is everything. And he is being called here as the everything or purna, complete. So when you take out something from a complete, from something, then that will become less, right? If you have a cake, very nice cake. We'll be talking a lot about cakes today because we like cakes. And if you cut a small piece of the cake, then you don't have the full cake anymore. Have you seen a cake that you keep cutting from it and it stays the full cake? I have not seen. But Bhagavan is like that. That is the inconceivable aspect that we will discuss today. So, where is Bhagavan coming in this verse? Yes, also Purna, but Purna is his quality. But Om is the most direct reference to Bhagavan. In the Bhagavad Gita itself, in the 17th chapter, Lord Krishna himself says that Om represents the absolute truth. 17.23, he says, Om tad sad iti nirdesho brahmanas trividha smritah brahmanastena vedascha yagyascha vihitah pura. What it means, I will just give the sort of the meaning of the first two lines. Om tad sad iti nirdesho brahmanas trividha smrita. So that Brahman, or that spiritual absolute truth, is called by these three vidha, in these three ways. And what are the three ways? Om, Tad, Sat. All those three words represent that absolute truth. This is Bhagavad Gita 17.23. Okay. So let us do word by word translation or go through the verse slowly. So we understood that Om is the object about which the rest of the verse is the description. The rest of the verse is describing that absolute truth, Bhagavan, represented as Om. Okay. So Om represents what? Bhagavan. And the verse is describing one of the aspects of Bhagavan, his Purna aspect, his completeness aspect. All right. So, Om is what? Pūrṇam adaḥ. Adaḥ means that. So, Pūrṇam adaḥ means that is complete. What is complete? Om. Or Bhagavan. Bhagavan is complete. Okay, that is easy to understand. We can all agree Bhagavan is complete. He is not incomplete. Do you agree? Easy to understand. Bhagavan is complete, at least theoretically. We are not like Arjuna, who has seen Bhagavan in front of his eyes. But at least it is possible to understand that Bhagavan is complete. All right. Now this one is little harder. Next one. Pūrṇam idaṁ. Idaṁ is referring to this material world. So, Srila Prabhupada says phenomenal. Phenomenal means everything that is material, that which we can see with our senses. Can you see this iPhone with your senses, with your eyes? Yes. So, this is phenomenal or material. So, Pūrṇam idaṁ. This is also complete. So, is the material world complete? How many of you say material world is complete? How many of you say it is not complete? So at least in the room, there are more hands in the incomplete category. Okay, very nice. So we have some doubt, but the verse says Pūrṇam idaṁ. This material world is also complete. We will see how. Okay. Now more qualities. Purnaat, Pūrṇam, udacyate. That from that purṇāt, purna udacyate. Udacyate means, in the Bhagavatam we also saw that the Bhagavatam arose, udacyate. So when from the purṇāt, purna comes. So this material world is purna, and it is coming from that Supreme Lord Purna. So purṇāt, pūrṇam udacyate. From the complete comes the complete. From a complete, so to say, cake, a new cake comes. Magical. So we will understand that also. Pūrṇāt, pūrṇam udacyate. And another aspect is coming in the next two lines. Purnaśya pūrṇam ādāya. That when from that purna, pūrṇam ādāya, you take away. Ādāya means to take away or to remove that purna. Purnaśya pūrṇam ādāya. You take out the purna. Pūrṇam evāvaśiṣyate. That purna still remains. Okay. So you took out the purna from the purna, but that purna did not get diminished. It stays as purna. Okay. So you're at least understood the meaning of the words or the portions of the verse, right? It may not make sense right now. So that is what we will discuss, how to make sense out of it. And those on the Zoom and here, raise your hands if you have questions, so I can, pace the discussion accordingly. Otherwise, I'll keep going and we'll go on for about 45-50 minutes. About 7:15 is my target to complete the discussion, and few minutes for question answers at the end. But if you have some questions in the middle, we can stop also. Okay. So now, again, I'm kind of, interested in all these scientific discussions and all that. One of the understandings that we get, I have heard many times, that it is compared to infinity. Purna is infinity. So for all those, how many of you have some background in mathematics, high school mathematics? Okay, very nice. High school level, not too hard. So that infinity is a very, kind of a very puzzling concept. And we have all learned that infinity is so big that if you take out infinity from infinity, what remains?
Infinity.
Infinity. So there seems to be some similarity with respect to that, but I will stay away from that kind of analogy for a couple of reasons. It is at a beginner level, if somebody feels happy, oh, that's what it means. Another analogy that is given is candles. You have one candle, then you light another candle, you light another candle. But this candle, when it lights another candle, does this candle's flame become less, half? No. So, and the other candle also is not half, it also gets a full. So if it helps you to understand a little bit, get a sense, good, no problem. Anything that helps your understanding is good. But we will go a little deeper. These are all at a material level. Even infinity is at a material level. Okay. So it is a material concept and it has some limitations, not some limitations, many limitations. There is a mathematician in the 1800s and early 1900s called Greg Cantor. I think I get the name right. Greg Cantor or George Cantor. You may not have heard of it. Very famous mathematician, and he came up with this concept called Cantor sets. It became a huge topic of research till today in topology. And the point I'm trying to make here is that what he showed, that infinity can come from something finite. So there's a problem. Infinity in mathematics, I'm not talking about Bhagawan at all. You take a line segment. Now that's why I said how many of you have some high school mathematics. You know line segment? That's a unit line segment from 0 to 1 on a number line, 0 to 1. You take that line segment, you divide it into half. What do you get? you get two line segments which are half of each other, isn't it? Now you have two line segments. You divide one of them into half. So the question is, what is the smallest possible line segment you can get by this process of division? What is the smallest one? Is there a limit?
No limit. Point.
Infinite. So which means you can get infinite line segments by this process of division. From how much? From something finite. Okay, these are hard concepts. Okay, and these are very advanced research concepts also. So even I don't know. Maybe my children may teach me someday, but I have no idea. This is where my knowledge stops. But the point is, something infinite came out of something finite. Very abstract concepts. Also, if you are interested, there is categories of infinity. There is something called countable infinity and uncountable infinity. Later on, after the class, if you're interested, I can explain. Very, very interesting concept and possible to understand at a high school level. Okay, but not for the class. Also, very nice example that is given by, which I heard from one of the class of Chaitanya Prabhu. Like, you have a set of numbers, right? What is all the numbers? Let's say all the whole numbers. How big is that set? Infinite. If I take out all the even numbers from that, so we had an infinite set. How big is that set of even numbers?
Infinite.
Infinite. What remains? The set of odd numbers. How big is that one?
Infinite.
Oh, so from something infinite, we took out something, it was infinite, and what was left was infinite. Wow, this sounds similar. Pūrṇasya pūrṇam ādāya pūrṇam evāvaśiṣyate. But you cannot apply this. I'm just trying to show the sort of the flaw here. Because if you say infinite is left, what was left? The set of odd numbers. Is it really complete? It may be infinite in quantity, but is it complete? It is missing what? All the even numbers. So something was diminished. So again, these analogies go only so far. So that was the point I wanted to convey. But if it helps your understanding, that's fine. So, but Ishvara, the Om, which is representing Bhagavan, is not like that. He is actually complete. Nothing diminishes. Pūrṇam evāvaśiṣyate. Avaśiṣyate means doesn't diminish. What is left is also complete. Okay. So, let's see. So, we will not read so we read the translation by Srila Prabhupada in the beginning. Prabhupada's purport has 5 paragraphs. Okay. And I will just give you a quick breakdown of those 5 paragraphs and discuss the topics individually. So we will still focus on this verse here. I'll just put the verse here. Okay. So the first paragraph, Srila Prabhupada is describing in his commentary that Bhagavan is the complete absolute truth. That pūrṇam that is being referred to is Bhagavan, is none other than Bhagavan. Because Bhagavan must contain everything. If there is something which is not contained within Bhagavan, then Bhagavan cannot be called pūrṇa, isn't it? If, let us say, you are the owner of all the wealth in the world, except for my house, can you be called as the owner of all the wealth in the world? No, except my house. That you are not the owner of, let's say. So you're not pūrṇa. So pūrṇa, when we say Bhagavan is pūrṇa, Srila Prabhupada is explaining that everything is contained within Bhagavan. That's point number 1. Second point, which was so that is a little bit easier to understand. Bhagavan is pūrṇa. Okay. Most of the devotees who are listening to this class have read Bhagavad Gita, have some background. Bhagawan is purna is easy to understand. Now comes the hard part, that the material world is also purna. Pūrṇam idaṁ. How is that possible? So that is second paragraph. Then the third and fourth paragraph describe how are we purna. So material world is doubtful whether it is purna. Are we part of material world? So we should also be purna. Pūrṇam idaṁ doesn't just refer to this table, chair, the trees, mountains, rivers. It also refers to the jivas in the material world. Are we purna? How many of you feel purna? You feel purna, Mataji? How about you, Prabhu? You feel purna? Some problems are there in life, right? So how can it be purna, right? So we don't feel purna. So, but everything is purna. So that we will discuss in the topic covered by Srila Prabhupada in paragraphs 3 and 4. And paragraph 5 talks about, so paragraph 3 talks about how we are purna, and fourth paragraph talks about why we don't feel that purna aspect. What is the reason why we don't feel it that way? And the fifth paragraph talks about how to bridge that gap. Okay, followed? It's a very interesting topic. So first of all, we will spend few minutes to discuss. So by the way, just a quick audio check. Am I audible on the Zoom? Okay, great. Thanks.
Yes.
And for the room people, there is space here. So
Yeah, if there are devotees in the back or something, you can feel free to come forward. Okay, so Bhagawan, the first topic is, all good? The first topic that is discussed is who is Bhagawan? And Bhagawan is perceived by us or by anyone in three different aspects. So we will read one verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So we will go to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, which is probably the most important chapter of the whole Bhagavatam. And within that, all are very important verses. We will go to text number 11. Okay, so let us recite this verse. Vadanti tat tattvavidas
Vadanti
tvam
tattvavidas
yajnanam advayam
Sambhavyāyanam advayam
brahmeti paramatmeti
Brahmeti Paramatmeti
Bhagavan iti shabdyate.
Bhagavan iti satyate.
Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, and or Bhagavan. So this absolute truth, which is being referred to as Om in this verse, Om pūrṇam adaḥ, right? We started with Om, and we are, please keep yourself muted. Which we are calling the Om, whose quality is Purna, is called, here it is written, called as Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan at three levels. So there are three levels of understanding of that supreme authority called Om or Bhagavan. So let me describe what it means. So how many of you have had cakes made by Madhavi Mataji? Okay. All right. So let us say that there is a beautiful, nice cake sitting in the kitchen. You can't see it. You haven't eaten it, But what can you do about it? Some aroma is coming.
Smell.
Smell. So when that beautiful smell is coming, what do you know? What does
It's a
the
cake.
smell tell you? That
There is a
there is
cake.
a beautiful cake inside somewhere in the vicinity, right? So that cake is the smell is the, you can say it's one of the, if something that is emanating, coming out from that cake. It is the energy of the cake, we can say that, or some effulgence, something which is coming out of the cake and you are perceiving it. It's real. It's not just some illusion. So it is an indication that there is something there. So someone may think that, so Brahman is like that. Brahman is the effulgence, the light. Now it is not a light as in the visible spectrum. If you have, for those in physics, you understand what I'm saying. It's not in the visible spectrum of the electromagnetic spectrum. It's not in the visible wavelength. It's not like that energy or light. But
Jalebi?
kindly mute yourself.
Jalebi street.
Okay. So Brahman is like that. Brahman is the effulgence of the Supreme Lord. So the question here is it not like a halo or something that we can see? Possible. The effulgence is not limited to one type, but Brahman is everywhere. Right now it is here in this room. Now I don't see any halo right now in the room. Brahman pervades the entire material and the spiritual and material universe. That is true, which means it is right here, somewhere here in the room, in this place it is there. So that way. Okay, that is Brahman. Those who are advanced enough in spiritual understanding can see the Brahman as well. They have got special eyes, like Arjuna got special eyes. We cannot see beyond the visual spectrum, right? But we have built so many telescopes, the Chandra X-ray laboratory, we call it, right? It can see the X-ray. And why talk about Chandra X-ray? On your X-ray machines, which you get in your, they can see the X-ray part of the spectrum, right? So with machines, you can see what your eyes cannot see. So that machine, so to say, with spiritual, equipped with spiritual knowledge, you can see Brahman. Okay. So that is the first understanding. Now, for the more intelligent person, when he's smelling the cake, somebody may smell the cake and say, aha, very nice smell. Okay, bye, I'm going. But the more intelligent person will do what? He'll try to find where the cake is, where the smell is coming from. So he'll go looking and he goes in the kitchen and he sees this beautiful cake sitting there. So when you can see the source of that effulgence, that form you see a form, it's a 3-tier cake with nice icing and all the other stuff on it. That form is the Paramatma form. Then you become more attracted. Wow, I can see the cake. I can see Bhagavan. So that visual connection occurs. Again, it's not with the normal eyes. You have to put the spiritual vision. So that is Paramatma form. And finally, the more intelligent person, what will he do? He is not satisfied with just seeing it. What will ultimately satisfy him? To eat
it.
Yes. So he will take a piece of the cake and eat it. And that is when he gets full satisfaction. So when you taste the cake, that means there is an interaction that is happening. And then you get the full understanding of what is the cake. So when you are seeing it, you're also smelling it. The moment you begin seeing it, the smell doesn't disappear, it stays. When you eat it, then also you are able to see it and smell it and taste it. So anyway, so that's the long story.
Sir,
But
is this the journey also from Nirgun to Sagun?
Hold on, we'll take that question in just a second. Raise your hands if you have that question. Okay. In the Zoom, you can raise it. So, where was I? Taste the key. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is describing Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Sat means that which is eternal. So, Brahman is eternal. It's always there, eternal. There was never a time when Brahman was not present, and never will be a time when it is not present. Eternal. Chit means knowledge. When you see the form, you get knowledge about Bhagavan. You just get the knowledge about Bhagavan when you see Bhagavan. So this, if you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, just two examples, Narad Muni in the first canto and Dhruva, the boy Dhruva, who we very respectfully call as Dhruva Maharaj, in the fourth canto, they both saw the Paramatma form that was residing in their heart. And they were immediately became full of knowledge. Just by seeing, they became full of knowledge. And then comes the final part, which is Ananda. Sat, Chit, and Ananda. When you have a relationship, a loving relationship with Bhagavan, then you become full of bliss and happiness, full of Ananda. So these are the three aspects, Sat, Chit, and Ananda, which are described, which are all represented as Om. Om just doesn't mean one of them, just the Brahman or Paramatma or Bhagavan. Om is representative of the complete absolute truth, Sat, Chit, Ananda. So that is who Bhagavan is. So that is a very, very sort of, I tried to compress it in a 5-10 minutes, but that is a very important concept that everybody should understand about Bhagavan, that one can understand Bhagavan as Sat, Chit, or Ananda, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. There are many other teachings, or you go to other places outside of ISKCON, some will only stop at the Brahman level. Oh, there is nothing beyond. They will tell you, you are smelling this wonderful cake. This is just wonderful aroma. Like you are walking next to a river and you smell something nice, but there's nothing else you can do about it. That's how they will tell you. Just smell, be happy. As if we are walking in a beautiful garden. Smell and be happy. No, it's beyond that. You can also see it. Some will stop at the seeing level. Oh, you can smell it, then you can see. But that's it. Stop. Nothing more. There's no more to be done. That is also not true. The full understanding given by Vaishnava Acharyas is that there is something beyond, where you can actually have a loving relationship. Imagine if you were told, all the married husband wives, right? Oh, you can just see your husband or wife, not have a loving relationship, or your child, just see. How many of you are satisfied with seeing your children on FaceTime or Zoom? Is that as satisfactory as in person? No, it is not. Not at all. So that is the difference between Paramatma and Bhagavan. You can get some sense. So Paramatma is not the end. Oh, all you can do is see Bhagavan on Zoom. You cannot go beyond. Only seeing, no relationship. That is not true. There is the Bhagavan aspect. So that point is very important to understand. Very simple, but very important. So if anybody tells you Brahman is it, or Paramatma is it, no. You can actually develop a loving relationship with Bhagavan, just like you develop with your child, your husband, wife, whatever, friend, brother, sister, whatever. Okay. So that is one concept. Okay. Now we come to, so we covered the concept of Om and pūrṇam adaḥ. Bhagavan is complete. He contains Sat, Chit, and Ananda. He is full of all knowledge. He is eternal, and he is full of all bliss, all happiness. Okay. So we have covered Om, Purna, pūrṇam, adaḥ. Now we come to the confusing part. Pūrṇam, idaṁ. So, like we asked the question, this material world, is it really complete? And many of you answered no. Is this material world complete, pūrṇam? So the answer that many of you gave was no. Now, let us see how to understand that. Okay. So somebody will say, so can I get some understanding from some of you why you think this material world is incomplete?
Because we need more and more.
Oh, that is about you. Let us just think about it. Take 10 seconds and think before you answer. Why do you think this material world is incomplete?
Prabhuji, my answer is that because we don't know what is complete.
Okay. I'm looking for simple answers, not very complicated. This is not a trick question. Simple things.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
There's no happiness. There's
If you,
no happiness.
if you take out something from the material world, it will not be whole.
That is good point. Material world is like the cake. You take one pie out of the cake, then you are not left with the full cake, you are left with 90%. Isn't it? If I steal your wealth or whatever, if I steal your land, it's no longer yours. There is limited amount of, we can say limited amount of resources. We are all fighting, all the fighting in this material world is about what? Limited resources. Isn't it? Who gets the oil? If there was infinite, is there any wars about air? Not yet. Not yet. But there is wars about
Water.
oil. Even water, now there are wars. Land, of course, land. Land, you said, right? All the my land, your land.
Our material personality also dies, sir, Prabhuji.
So there is death. And so you are equating death to some kind of incompleteness, temporariness. Okay. Very nice. What are some of the other things? Yes.
Lack of whatever the happiness or pleasures we get in this material world are not everlasting or eternal.
Temporary.
They last away.
Very nice. So there are all these, basically material world, there are problems. We can say that this material world is not perfect. That's how it appears, right? There is drought somewhere and there is excessive rain somewhere. Many of the atheists, one of the very strong arguments of the atheists is, why does it rain on the ocean? Does it rain on the oceans?
It does.
Is there any lack of water in the ocean? So if God is perfect, why is he wasting the water to rain on the oceans and there is drought somewhere else? Or there is flood somewhere else? Isn't it? So it seems some kind of imperfection or incompleteness. Isn't it? So how do we understand this incompleteness of the material world? However, look at it from this way. So there's some echo somewhere. So look at it from this other angle. Okay, I'll just give you a sense. It's by no means I'm trying to say this is an answer to the incompleteness part, but look at the beauty of the material world. First of all, just look at the beauty of the material world. Sometimes we are part of the material world, but we are so much part of it that we take it for granted. We are so embedded inside it that everything is for granted. My children, when they gone to college, now they are saying, oh, the paratha and aloo puri and so nice. Here, when they were home, I beta khalo. Nahi, abhi, not now. Now after going, then all that's, so when you are, you take things for granted when you are, with that, right? That's human nature. But if you stop and think about the beauty of the material world. One of the very nice ways you can realize the beauty of how the Lord has created this material world is this whole, let's say, the system of plants and animals, the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom. It is a zero waste cycle. Imagine a factory. Is there any human factory which never runs out of raw materials? Have you ever seen such a factory? And never produces any waste. Only produces effective product. Have you seen such a factory?
No.
The ecosystem is that factory. Every waste.
This is the end of lecture 2, which is the invocation mantra. Hare Krishna.
So, yeah, every waste of the plant kingdom. What are the wastages of the plant kingdom? Fruits, leaves, they all drop, right? In our backyard, literally in our house, if you come, there's a tree of what? Or plums. And, we were, breaking some plums and giving as gift to just, to some friends. I was amazed at the number of plums. Literally, that one tree in our backyard could feed us for months. If I could eat just plums, morning, breakfast, dinner, and lunch and dinner, if I just eat plums, I'm just making a point. It had enough plums for our whole family. For months, one tree. Otherwise, and we could see, because we don't do that, all those were just fallen on the ground and people would walk on top. It's a waste. But birds, animals, anybody can eat that. Plants produce oxygen. And what do they take in? Carbon dioxide, which animals produce. So, and animals produce waste products, the excretion products. They are used by the plants as manure. So this whole system is working so beautifully. Where have you seen such a system? Such a beautiful system. So you realize the beauty, and whenever you see such a system working, you need to think, stop and think that there must be a designer. Cannot just happen by chance. This is goes back to the same discussion of the watch and the watchmaker. You Google, this is a very famous term and a very big philosophical debate between theists and atheists. And the example that is taken of a watch. If you see a beautiful watch, you immediately realize there must be a watchmaker. Have you ever seen a watch and wondered, oh, it happened by chance? No, you won't. This material world is more beautiful than that watch. Then how can you say there is no watchmaker? So that is one point, that this world is very, very beautiful, and it gives you some sense that it is kind of, may not be perfect, but it's pretty darn advanced, pretty sophisticated. And there must be a designer. Now you can say, he's a pretty good designer, but not the greatest designer. He had some flaws. Okay, little bit he got, there were bugs. Pretty advanced software, but has some bugs. Okay, you can think like that. Why does it rain somewhere excessively and drought somewhere else? Now we answer that question. So you are at least some level to understand that this world is perfect. Not all the way. You can see that this software is pretty advanced, just taking the example, but it is buggy. Now I will tell you why it is not buggy. It is actually bug-free software. And then you will get the understanding that it is perfect. Perfect means bug-free, right? So this is another beautiful example given by Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. I just, in awe of the kind of examples or the analogies he takes. So credit goes fully to him. And there is the point is there is a purpose for anything that you create. And the beautiful example that he gives is that of a smartphone. Okay. Is this a pretty advanced piece of technology? Took years to design, right? First model of iPhone came 2007. Now whatever iPhone 14 is the latest, right? So much technology went into this beautiful, but is it perfect? Let's say it is pretty perfect. Let's just say for the sake of argument. Now I am an author of a book, let us say, and I start to write my book on the iPhone. I'm typing out my book on the iPhone like this with two thumbs. Can I write a book on this iPhone? Difficult. What happened? Oh. It is difficult. Now I say, oh, this iPhone is so poorly designed. I cannot write a book on it. What a stupid iPhone. What will you tell me? What will you tell me, Mataji? That is not the purpose of the iPhone. Yes, if I want, I can write a book on it. I can open a notes app and try to write a book and all that with my two thumbs. But that is not what is the purpose of the iPhone. The iPhone purpose is to send short text messages. I'm being late or whatever, where are you? That type of things it is good for. If I want to write a book, what should I use? The computer. Can I blame Apple for a poor design of iPhone because I want to use it to write a book? Whose problem is it? Apple's problem or my problem? My problem. In the same way, we are thinking that this material world is meant for my complete enjoyment. There should never be any droughts. There should never be any floods. There should never be death. What were some of the other things that were mentioned as problems? Whatever, right? You get the point. Everything should be permanent. There should be no temporariness. Every time should be spring. No winter, no extreme summers. All the time it should be beautiful so that I can enjoy. Well, guess what? We are mistaking, or we are considering this. We are trying to write a book on the iPhone. This material world is not meant for our enjoyment. This material world is not meant, we all say roti kapda makan, right? The three, what we say, basic human rights. Everybody should never be hungry. We should solve world hunger. We should solve, everybody should have a house to live. Nobody should be homeless. Makan, roti, and kapda. Kapda means just, we can call it healthcare. Kapda is to protect us from the whatever, for protection of the body. Modern definition of kapda is healthcare, Obamacare. Everybody should get healthcare, right? Well, those are not human rights. Those are living entity rights. Every living entity that God has created, he has given everybody the right to have these three things: roti, kapda, makan, food, shelter, and protection. Every living entity deserves these things, and Lord has created enough for all. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, only the humans have this problem of shortage of food because we have the tendency of hoarding. He writes in the purport that, if there is a bag of rice on the street, a bird will come, eat few grains, it will leave. But if a man comes, what will he do? He will take the whole bag itself. Then that creates the shortage. All right. That is not a human right. saying that roti kapda makan is a human right is an insult to the humans. Then we are demoting humans to an animal level. That is, the animal also should have that right. You are settling for too cheap. What is human right? What is human right? Anybody? It is the first sutra of Vedanta Sutra. Atatho Brahma Jigyasa. We discussed this. Atatho means therefore. Therefore, why is therefore coming? Therefore means it's usually the next sentence. There need to be some sentence preceding it. But Vedanta Sutras are very compact. Therefore is preceded by because you got a human body. Because you got a human body, therefore, atatho Brahma Jigyasa, inquire about the spiritual truth. That is human right. That animals cannot do. They do not have that right. So animals do not have that right. So if we are not doing Brahma Jigyasa, then we are not giving ourselves that right. Luckily, till today, there is no restriction on doing Brahma Jigyasa. And even facilities are available. And that is why material world, kindly keep yourself muted. That is why material world is complete. Because it gives us the entire infrastructure for spiritual inquiry. Now, that will not remain like that. Or when it gets to the point when it is completely impossible, that will be the end of Kali Yuga. Lord Kalki will come and re-establish Dharma. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata. So Lord will come and do Dharma Sanstapana again, and it will be Satyuga again. But always on this planet, there will be an opportunity to do some spiritual inquiry. But we can see some countries where it is getting harder and harder to do spiritual inquiry. Some governments are saying, if you have, any inclination of God, then you can be put in jail. There are some places like that. But anyway, this material world, please keep yourself muted. This material world provides all the facilities for our spiritual advancement. All the facilities. And that is why it is complete. Because the purpose of the material world is to allow us to make spiritual advancement. And it has everything in it. The purpose of the material world is for us to make spiritual advancement. And it is not lacking in any way. Now you can ask, why is there drought? Why is there floods? Just taking that as an example. There needs to be, and at many places there is no drought, no flood, right? Floods and droughts are the problematic areas. Here in this place today, there is no flood or drought. So we can say we are happy. Some places where else there is flood or drought or hurricane, Ian or whatever, there is problems. This material world has the right balance of problems, pain, and pleasure. Because if there is too much pleasure, then it will become very hard to do spiritual inquiry. And when there is too much pain, then also it is very hard. So there has to be a balance of pain and pleasure, which is the best situation for spiritual inquiry. That is why, for the students, just giving an example, it is said you should not have a very luxurious chair, very cushion. It should be, they say it's a wooden chair. But it is not that you shouldn't have a table and chair at all, that you are sitting on the floor and you are bending down and all that. It's not, but you shouldn't have the most luxurious chair either. In that way, you can do study. Otherwise, if it is most luxurious, you'll go to sleep. If it is very, very hard, and if you're sitting on the floor in the hot sun and everything, then your mind is just too agitated to do anything else. Are you following? That is the purpose of that wooden table and wooden chair. And then the student can become advanced. Similarly, the purpose of the material world is not our enjoyment, that there should never be any pain or pleasure. But there is the right balance of pain and pleasure. Plus, there is all the availability of spiritual instructions. Lord Krishna sends his messengers like Srila Prabhupada. He left Vrindavan, where he could have been very pleasureful. He took up pain to come to America. People think, oh, he came to America. We all come to America to earn money. He didn't come to earn money. Britishers asked him, why you have come to London? He said, you took away everything from India, but you forgot to take one thing, which is Bhagavad Gita. So here is Bhagavad Gita. I'm coming to give you, not take from you. One thing you forgot, I have come to give you that final thing, which is spiritual knowledge. So Prabhupada came only to give, not to take. We all come to America to take. He came to give. And he instructed all his followers to give spiritual knowledge. Street by street, village, town, city, everywhere he said, go and spread this message. So this message is available. It is up to us whether we want to take it or not. And that is the perfection of the material world. Are you following? So it is a perfect, you can say, hospital. What is the purpose of hospital? Is it the purpose of hospital is like a 5-star hotel? No. 5-star hotel, there should be no pain. In hospital, is there pain? When they put big, surgery and all that stuff, it's painful, right? The purpose of hospital is different from the purpose of a 5-star hotel. So this is a perfect hospital. We are unfortunately thinking this should have been a 5-star hotel. Why is there pain? All right. Now you understand pūrṇam idaṁ? Okay. Then final question is, are we perfect humans? Yeah, fine. But within, as the embodied soul, which means as your human existence right now, do you feel perfect? No.
Depends on the stage of Krishna Bhakti that we are in, maybe.
You are one step ahead of me. So, yeah, but how? So let's go to that. So you understand that the human body is also like the material world, needs to have a little bit pain and pleasure so that our focus can be on Bhagavan. Now let's talk about bridging the gap. So since time is short, I will quickly go ahead. And Srila Prabhupada very wonderfully gives this example in the purport. The hand, all of you raise your hand. Okay, you are all able to raise your hand, right? It's a good hand. It can hold things, it can work, right? This hand is working. Why? Because it is attached to your body. I don't want to sound very gross, but if the hand is cut off, can it do the same functions? It's the same hand. So the hand is only good as long as it is attached to the body. Otherwise, it is a piece of dead flesh, isn't it? Similarly, we are also complete if we fully attach ourselves to Krishna, to Bhagavan. Because we are, to some degree, we are detached or separated from Krishna. To that extent, we feel not purna. So for the shuddha bhaktas, the pure devotees, if you were to go ask them, do you feel complete? Not out of pride, they will say, but if you ask them confidentially, or if it is written in Shastras, they are fully complete. They feel complete. They actually feel complete. Because they are fully connected, their consciousness, their intentions, their heart, is fully connected with Bhagawan and they feel complete. We only connect with Bhagawan when we need things. And remaining time, we are busy enjoying those things. Then we forget Bhagawan. Sukh mein sumiran kare na koi. Dukh mein sumiran sab kare, sukh mein kare na koi. So, if we attach ourselves to Bhagawan fully, then we will feel fully complete. So this human life is complete and this material world is complete because it has all the capabilities, it has all the opportunity to connect back with Bhagawan. In that sense, the capability is complete. It is up to us whether we want to use that capability or not. The capability is there, and when we use that capability, we will actually feel complete. We are complete because capability exists. Like a Tesla car, very advanced. One time, my friend has a Tesla car. He said, "You want to drive?" I said, "Sure." Who doesn't want to drive Tesla? I was driving it like my Toyota. Like, okay. He said, "Hey, you don't have to do all that. You can leave the steering." I wasn't like feeling like, how can I just leave the steering? He said, "Just leave it." And I left it for like 10 seconds and it was driving nicely. That is because I am not ready to use the facility that is available. Then I will feel like, oh, I have to drive it. But if I read the manual, if I practice, if I do whatever, then I can reap the benefits. The facility, the Tesla car in which I was sitting had all the facilities. Just if you switch the driver, all the benefits will manifest. So is the problem with the car or with the driver? You cannot blame the car for not having facility. So car is complete. Okay. Just an example. Okay. So those are all the points that I wanted to cover. Yeah, actually that's only half of the points, but main points are covered. I'm just looking at my notes. So what I'm going to do now, it is 7:15 or 7:13. Now we can take some questions. Anybody has? So what I'm going to do, and since this is also part of our Bhakti Shastri series, let me pause the recording and I can hopefully resume. So the question is, what was the question? Why is it said that Bhagavan has no material qualities?
Why I'm asking is because in one of the chapters in Bhagavad Gita, he says that even the quality of cheating comes from him. Even the quality of honesty comes from him. So it's kind of confusing.
Okay. So the question is why, I'll simplify the question, but I will address that point. The question is, why is it that the Lord only has spiritual qualities and not material qualities? And the answer is that when we say material qualities, it means that the qualities that are, I will use the word contaminated with some material influence or material mode. So contaminated with sattva guna, which is also binding. Through Bhagavad Gita, we all understand sattva guna is also mode of goodness, is also binding. And definitely you can understand that there is a problem with tamo guna and rajo guna. They are definitely problematic, but sattva guna is also problematic. Do you agree? All three modes are problematic. And it is not, there is no tinge of those material modes. So the quality of cheating, or what was the other one? Yeah, so they are all at the spiritual level. The Lord can cheat as a spiritual person. For example, when Hiranyakashipu, he thought he had everything, neither day nor night, inside or outside, or this or not, animal or human. Can you say that Narsinghadev kind of got the better of Hiranyakashipu? Huh? That he came in such a form and such a time and place that he defeated all those criteria, isn't it? Who could have imagined that the Lord can take such a form? Even Lakshmi Devi also disowned him, saying, I don't recognize who is this, isn't it? So he is the perfect cheater. Hiranyakashipu thought he is the biggest cheater. He cheated Lord Brahma into getting that boon. But so you understand, you get the sense. So in that sense, the Lord is, yes, he's a cheater. If you try to, hurt the devotees of the Lord will use all the cheating powers to protect his devotees. But the love that the Lord has for his devotees and his strong desire that he has to protect his devotees is spiritual. And he can use the cheating propensity for that spiritual relationship. All right. Okay. Other questions? Okay. So if there are no other questions, then we will close here. I will stop the recording, but all of you please stay on the Zoom for just 2 more minutes. And then we will, I have some announcements and then we will close the call. Okay. So, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.